All right, so today we're going to take a deep dive into something pretty fascinating.
Okay.
China's technology boom, but we're not just talking about like the latest gadgets,
Right.
We're talking about a potential like shift in the global balance of power.
Yeah.
And to kind of wrap our heads around all of this,
Oh, yeah.
we're going to use a framework
Okay.
developed by Thomas Kuhn, who was a philosopher of science.
Yeah, Kuhn's work is usually applied to scientific fields.
Right.
But, his concept of paradigm shifts can really shed light on a lot of other areas, including what we're seeing happening right now in China.
So for those who might not be familiar,
Yeah.
remind us, what exactly is a paradigm shift?
So a paradigm,
In its context.
according to Kuhn, is a set of shared assumptions and theories and methods
Right.
that guide a particular field or even a whole society.
Gotcha.
And when a new paradigm emerges, it's not just, an incremental change.
Right.
It's a fundamental shift.
Like a complete change in perspective.
Exactly.
Not just a minor tweak.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does this apply to what we're seeing with all these advancements in China's tech?
Well, I think we need to start with the undeniable evidence.
Okay.
China has been making absolutely incredible strides in military technology.
Yeah.
We're seeing development of, sixth-generation fighter jets, advanced naval vessels.
Like the Type 076 landing helicopter doc, I was reading about that.
Exactly.
It's impressive.
Cutting-edge radar systems. I mean, it's a really impressive list.
It's definitely caught the attention of a lot of people.
Yeah.
What makes you think, though, that this is more than just like
Right.
a series of isolated advancements?
The sheer speed and scope of this progress.
Okay.
It's remarkable.
Uh-huh.
It's not just one area. It's happening across the board.
Right.
And I think this leads a lot of experts, myself included, to believe that something bigger is happening.
Yeah.
Something that resembles what Kuhn described as a paradigm shift.
Okay, so walk us through that.
Sure.
How exactly is China's approach to tech indicative of a new paradigm?
Well, for decades, China has been laying the groundwork for this potential shift.
Right.
They've invested heavily in science and engineering education.
Hmm.
They consistently produce over 2 million engineers annually.
Wow, that's a crazy number.
It is.
Mhm.
And it shows a very deliberate focus on developing a workforce
Right.
that is capable of driving technological innovation.
So a skilled workforce is one thing,
Hmm.
but they also have a centralized system that allows them to allocate resources
Exactly.
very efficiently towards strategic goals.
Very efficiently.
So we got the skilled workforce and a system that can effectively mobilize resources.
Yes.
Anything else that contributes to this potential paradigm shift?
There's also a cultural aspect to it, I think.
Okay.
Over the past few decades, China has cultivated a cultural environment that really values technological achievement.
Interesting. So it's not just about the hardware and infrastructure. It's about creating a mindset that prioritizes
Exactly.
technological advancement.
Yeah, and I think all of these factors combined create very fertile ground for rapid technological development.
Now, 2025 seems to be like a really significant year in all of this.
It is.
What's so special about that year?
Well, 2025 is the target year for Made in China 2025.
Right.
Which is a strategic plan to transform China into a global manufacturing superpower, particularly in high-tech sectors.
Right.
And a lot of these military advancements that we've been talking about seem to be converging around the same time frame.
So 2025 is like a culmination of all these long-term efforts.
I think so.
And you're suggesting that this convergence is a sign of a paradigm shift in action.
I believe so.
Yes.
It's the point where all of these individual advancements start to add up to something much bigger, something that could fundamentally reshape the global technological landscape.
To really grasp the significance of what might be happening in China,
Yeah,
is it helpful to compare it to another country's approach?
absolutely. I think if we contrast China's approach with that of the United States,
Right.
which historically has been a leader in technological innovation, we can see some pretty stark differences.
We hear all the time about rising costs and political gridlock
Yeah.
that have been hindering technological progress in the U.S.
Exactly. And those factors have definitely hampered the development of next-generation technologies in the U.S.
Like the NGAD, the Next Generation Air Dominance Fighter Program.
A good example.
Yeah.
Numerous delays and challenges.
So you're saying that the U.S. system, despite its history of innovation, might be struggling to adapt to this new era of rapid technological advancement.
That's a key insight. I think paradigm shifts aren't just about the technology itself.
Right.
They're about having the right systems in place to foster and capitalize on innovation.
Okay.
And China seems to have developed a system that's particularly well suited for driving this kind of technological revolution.
So you're not saying that China is simply catching up to the U.S.? You're suggesting that they might be creating a whole new model
That's exactly what I'm getting at.
for technological advancement.
And that's why it's so important to understand this potential paradigm shift.
Yeah.
It's not just about China surpassing the U.S. in specific areas.
Right.
It's about a fundamental shift in how technological innovation happens on a global scale.
That's a big idea.
It is.
It sounds like we need to broaden our perspective beyond just military tech
I think so.
to truly understand what's going on here.
You're absolutely right. This potential paradigm shift isn't just about military might.
Yeah.
It's about a much broader transformation
Okay.
that encompasses economics, education culture, even lifestyle.
So it's a holistic shift,
Precisely.
touching every aspect of Chinese society.
It's like watching a paradigm shift unfold in real time,
Wow.
and it's fascinating to observe.
Okay, I'm starting to get it, but what does it actually look like on the ground?
Yeah.
Can you give us a concrete example of this new paradigm playing out?
Absolutely. So one really striking example, I think.
Is the story of Pan Jianwei,
Okay.
who is a leading figure in China's quantum technology program. He's a quantum physicist who early in his career faced a lot of skepticism and difficulty securing funding.
So even in a system that's supposed to be good at focusing resources,
Right.
there are still hurdles.
Of course, no system is perfect.
Right.
But what's interesting is how China responded to this.
Okay.
Instead of abandoning his research,
Yeah.
they doubled down.
Uh-huh.
They provided him with the support and resources he needed to push forward.
I'm guessing this gamble paid off.
It did, in a
Yeah.
big way.
Okay.
His work gained widespread acceptance after the launch of the MISSIS satellite in 2016.
Hello?
This satellite was a major breakthrough in quantum communications,
Wow.
demonstrating the feasibility of using quantum entanglement for secure data transmission.
So they invested in a seemingly far-out technology, and it ended up being a big win.
It did.
How does this connect back to the paradigm shift? I think the story really exemplifies how China is operating within this new paradigm.
Okay.
They identify a promising area, even if it's initially met with skepticism, and then they commit to it. For long haul, they pour in resources until they achieve success.
It's a very different approach from what we see a lot in the West,
It is.
where it seems like short-term gains are often prioritized over long-term vision.
I agree, and I think that's a key characteristic of this paradigm shift.
Okay.
It's a shift towards a more strategic, long-term approach to technological development.
Okay.
One that's less concerned with immediate profits and more focused on really building the foundation for future dominance.
This brings us back to like the so what question.
All right.
Why does this all matter, not just for China, but for everybody else?
Yeah.
What are the implications of this potential paradigm shift for the rest of the world?
If China does succeed in ushering in this new technological paradigm, it will undoubtedly have a profound impact on the global landscape. I mean, we're talking about potential shifts in economic power, political influence, even cultural values.
So it's not just about who has the coolest gadgets anymore.
No.
It's about who makes the rules of the game
Exactly.
for the 21st century.
And understanding these potential shifts is crucial for navigating this changing world.
Okay, so how do we use this knowledge to our advantage?
Well, if you're aware of these trends, you can start making decisions today
Okay.
that will position you well for the future.
Mm-hmm.
This could mean exploring investment opportunities in Chinese tech companies,
Right.
or simply just staying informed about the latest developments in Chinese technology.
Yeah.
The point is to be proactive and adapt to this changing landscape.
Knowledge is power.
It is.
So by understanding this paradigm shift, we can anticipate these changes
Right.
and make choices that will help us thrive in this new world.
Exactly. Now, Kuhn observed that paradigm shifts are often met with resistance. People who are invested in the old way of doing things, who have built their careers and worldviews around a particular paradigm,
Yeah.
can be very reluctant to embrace change.
That's human nature to resist change.
It is.
Especially when it challenges our existing beliefs.
Absolutely. And we see this happening in the context of China's rise.
Okay.
There are those who dismiss China's technological progress, attributing it to, copying or reverse engineering, rather than genuine innovation.
So they're trying to fit China's advancements into the existing paradigm.
Yes.
Instead of recognizing that something fundamentally different might be happening.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And that's why I think critical thinking is so important here.
Okay.
We need to be willing to question our assumptions and be open to the possibility that we're witnessing the emergence of a truly new technological paradigm.
We need to update our mental models, so to speak.
Exactly.
To make sense of what's happening.
And one of the most intriguing aspects, I think, of paradigm shifts is that they often come with unintended consequences.
Okay.
When you introduce a new way of thinking or doing things, it can have ripple effects that you couldn't have predicted.
Like a chain reaction.
Exactly.
Okay. So what kind of unintended consequences might we see here?
Well, for one, I think this technological shift could have a significant impact on China's internal politics.
Okay.
As technology becomes increasingly central to China's economy and society, it's likely to empower new actors and potentially challenge existing power structures.
So the implications go beyond just China's relationship with the rest of the world.
Yes.
It's also about the dynamics within China itself.
Exactly. And this leads to another fascinating possibility.
Okay.
The potential for unexpected alliances and collaborations.
Tell me more about these unexpected alliances.
As China's technological prowess grows, it's likely to seek out partners who can help it achieve its strategic goals.
Yeah.
And this could lead to collaborations between China and countries or companies that in the past might have been seen as rivals or even adversaries.
So the old geopolitical lines could start to blur.
They could.
As countries prioritize aligning themselves with technological powerhouses.
Yeah, and we're already seeing this happen to some extent.
Okay.
There are growing technological ties between China and countries in Africa, Latin America, and even Europe.
Yeah.
Despite tensions and competition in other areas.
So the pull of technological advancement outweighs the traditional geopolitical rivalries.
It's a powerful force, and another unintended consequence, I think, to consider is a potential renewed focus on ethics and values in technological development.
Interesting. Why would a technological shift lead to a greater emphasis on ethics?
Well, as technology becomes more powerful, it raises really profound questions about its responsible use and the values that should guide its development.
Yeah.
And as China becomes a major player in fields like AI, biotechnology, space exploration, it will face increasing scrutiny and pressure to address these ethical considerations.
So China's actions could force the rest of the world to confront these tough questions.
I think so.
About the responsible use of technology.
Yes, precisely. And this brings us to another potential unintended consequence that's directly relevant to our listeners.
Okay.
The impact on the future of work.
The big question, will robots take our jobs?
Well, it's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
I think China's technological advancements will likely have a significant impact on the global workforce. As automation and AI become more sophisticated, certain jobs will inevitably become obsolete while new ones will emerge.
Okay.
So it's not just about jobs disappearing, but about a fundamental reshaping of the labor market.
So what questions should we be asking ourselves?
I think first and foremost, what skills and knowledge will be in high demand in this future job market?
Okay.
How can you position yourself to thrive in a world where technology is constantly evolving?
Sounds like we all need to become lifelong learners.
I think so.
Constantly adapting and acquiring new skills.
Yeah, and equally important is the question of ethics.
Okay.
What are the ethical implications of these technological advancements for the workforce? How do we ensure that the benefits of automation are shared equitably? And that workers aren't left behind?
These are big questions that we need to start thinking about now.
We do. It's not just about surviving in this new technological landscape. It's about shaping it in a way that benefits everyone.
Right. And this brings us back to this whole concept of paradigm shifts.
It does.
Recognizing that we're in the midst of this potential transformation empowers us to think differently, challenge assumptions, and actively participate in shaping the future.
Exactly. It's not just about observing these changes from a distance.
Yeah.
It's about actively engaging with them and making choices that will help us navigate this new world.
So it's not just about China.
No.
It's about how all of us respond to these changes.
Exactly. And here's a final thought for your listeners. If paradigm shifts are inevitable, how can you position yourself to be a driver of change rather than simply a passenger?
That's a great question to ponder. Wow, this has been a fascinating conversation.
It has.
We've really dug deep into this idea of a paradigm shift in technology with China at the forefront.
We have, and I think it's safe to say we've only scratched the surface here.
Right.
This topic is incredibly complex and multifaceted, but hopefully this discussion has at least provided some valuable insights into, the forces that are shaping our world.
Absolutely.
I agree, and how we can better understand them.
We've covered a lot of ground today, but I want to make sure we leave our listeners with some key takeaways.
Okay.
What are the most important points you'd like them to remember?
Well, I think first and foremost is the idea that technological innovation isn't happening in a vacuum.
Right.
It's deeply intertwined with social, economic, and political systems. And China's recent advancements suggest that they might be developing a new model for technological progress. One that could have really profound implications for the global balance of power.
It's not just about keeping up with China in terms of specific technologies.
Right.
It's about understanding that underlying system.
Exactly.
That's driving their innovation.
Yeah, and secondly, I think it's important to remember that paradigm shifts, by their very nature, are disruptive. They challenge our existing assumptions and force us to rethink how we see the world.
Yeah.
This can be unsettling, but it's also an opportunity for growth and adaptation.
So we all need to be flexible and adaptable.
Absolutely.
In the face of this rapid change.
We can't cling to outdated models of thinking if we want to thrive in this new world.
That's right. And finally, got to emphasize the importance of critical thinking.
Yes.
Right? We're bombarded with information constantly.
Right.
It's easy to get swept up in the hype or dismiss new ideas out of hand.
Right.
But in a world that's changing as quickly as ours, it's more important than ever to be able to analyze information, question assumptions.
Absolutely.
And form our own informed opinion.
Yeah, that's a great point to end on.
I think Thomas Kuhn would agree.
He would.
That critical thinking is essential for navigating these paradigm shifts.
Yeah.
And understanding the forces that shape our world.
I think so too.
Well, this has been a truly stimulating conversation.
It has been.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into China's tech boom.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, we encourage you to keep exploring these ideas. Keep asking those questions. The future is full of possibilities, and by understanding the dynamics of change, we can all play a role in shaping it.